Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I've got a great brain-teasing interview for you coming up. It's with a man named Mr. Alexis Sikorsky, and Alexis and I are talking about really how to grow companies and using PE firms or mergers and acquisitions or other types of strategic builds in a business. He started a company basically out of his basement, and he grew that company up to 50 million and was in several countries, and they exited for 9 figures. And today he helps companies position and build their businesses from a person who's actually been there and done it. So we are going to talk a lot. It'll be a bit of a contrarian points of view going back and forth a little bit. Some questions being answered. You'll see maybe here I stumped on some of the questions we ask each other, but that's okay, right? So that's how we grow. And speaking of growth, if you want to read every single week about growth, subscribe to our newsletter at ceosalesstrategies.com/newsletter. And if you're looking to, build your company and you want some assistance in doing that, reach out to me at Doug at ceosalesstrategies.com. Without further ado, let's go speak to Mr. Alexis Sikorsky right now. Hey, Alexis, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, Doug, thanks for having me.
You're in Europe right now, correct? If I remember.
Yeah, I'm in Spain.
That's a lovely place. My daughter went over to Madrid for a couple of weeks, and she was learning Spanish, and she came back and said, "Dad, I don't know Spanish. I thought I did." I thought she was fluent. So now I love the subject we're talking about today. It's really about how to build a company and exit it, but how to work with PE firms. Now, I found your story super fascinating. You started a company or business called New Access in your basement while you were working full time, and you brought this thing up, and eventually it sold off for a 9-figure exit. Accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. You think Apple, but without the venture capitalist.
That's funny. Well, I'm curious, like you work full time. A lot of people, I've been in business for a long time doing different businesses. It's not always easy. And you worked full time and did this part time and got it up to a place where eventually you got it to $50 million. What were some of the challenges in the beginning when you were starting this thing out?
Honestly, we don't have many challenges in the beginning, right? Growing your company from 0 to 10 million, it's easy. Like there is no real challenge there. You need to have a good product, you need to have good people, and you need to have clients, but none of that is hard. It's after that it becomes really hard.
I can hear people on the other end here thinking, no, wait a minute, what do you mean this is easy? I've been struggling to get my company to 5 million, never mind 10.
Yeah, I get that, but like if you get past 3-4 million, you're good till 10, basically, because you have something that the people want. I'm not talking about like the solo entrepreneurs and the social media specialists and the marketing people. That's still like below 1 million.
Right.
But when you have like a product and something to sell, it takes a little bit of skill, but it's not that hard.
Yeah, and I think it's really accountability to, lead flow plus workflow equals cash flow, right? And
Pretty
so
much.
so folks, for those of you who are wondering what workflow is, lead flow, you pretty much understand, I hope. You got to have lots of outbound or inbound leads, whatever you're doing. And workflow is everything you're doing to sell that. So, from nurturing it to having sales conversations. So just think about leads plus sales conversations equals cash flow. Alexis, I love your opinion on this feedback. My thought is until you get to 3 million, you spend 90% of your time doing that and 10% of your time working on the business. What do you feel a different proportion, or do you feel differently about that?
So the question of the founders working on the business versus working in the business is one of the absolute key to unlock growth. It's not like a marginal thing. It's not like a nice thing to talk about. It's the key. It's the number one key. And when do you switch from working in the business to working on the business is it's critical. That's where you actually become a company, right? If you spend 90% of your time working in your company, then you don't have a company, you have a job.
Ah. So let's talk about working in the in and on the business then. So because a lot of people, I don't think they really understand what working on the business means. It's like a really great catchphrase, but it's not well defined. Chet Holmes used to talk about this all the time when I worked at, in his company. I was the president of training and sales there. And he would say, we were always working on the business. So I think I understand working on the business, but from your perspective, guy who's built this thing to 50 million, exited, at nine figures, what is working on the business?
Okay, there's a few concepts, and actually it's good because it's measurable. You can test it. Um, First concept is, are you confusing what's urgent with what's important? I would say around, give or take, when you reach to the 10 million mark, around 100% of founders do that mistake. They confuse what's urgent with what's important. Like your client calling and his software, in my case, it was software, his software is not working. That's urgent, but it's utterly unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
You see the difference? Do I get financing next year? How do I grind? Where do I grow? Who do I hire? That's what's important. And first of all, it's a test I give my client, my client. It's say, okay, leave. Take a week of holidays. You don't take your phone. What happens? It's a very good test. If nothing happens, good. You have a company. If everything collapses, you don't have a company yet, right?
So that's interesting. So, Robert Kiyosaki had a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where they defined, the E as the employee, the ESBI quadrant, self-employed, business owner, investor. But the self-employed person is that person I think you're talking about. If they leave for a week, everything sort of falls sideways. But a business owner has systems and processes working in the business, and therefore that business owner can take time off because the business is somewhat, if not 100%, relatively independent of the business owner actually being there, except for the working on the business strategic part. Am I getting this correct?
100%. And by the way, that's one of the things the PE will look, right? Because in an ideal world, and their preference is that they will keep you as the CEO of the company after they bought your company. But they need to think of a plan B where they don't, or where you leave, or where something happened to you, or where you die, right? That's the thing they put in place. And actually, there is a methodology to do that. It's not like, oh, you're doing it all wrong, let's doing all right. There is a methodology to do that. So I sit with a client. First of all, I make him list all the tasks he does in a week. Just make a stupid shopping list of all the stuff you do.
Yeah.
And then you identify the task you're uniquely qualified to do. And the bigger the company, the shorter the list of, like, if you are the CEO of a public company, basically you're uniquely qualified to deal with investors. That's it. If you are a 10 million company, your list is going to be four or five. So, and then slowly you replace the one you're not uniquely qualified to do by other people. It's pretty simple.
So I remember reading what you wrote, and it was about a key strategy is recruiting A players in the business, a key to a who attract other talent who are also A players. Is again, I want you to refute anything that I say, or say, hey, that's true. So, um, is that a strategy that it should be deployed from day one, or should one be waiting for a period of time before they start to do that?
First of all, just so I don't brag, that's not my concept. That's Steve Jobs.
Ah, okay.
That's a young Steve Jobs concept. But I quote it in my book because, yes, ideally you should have only A players from day one, but life has a sense of humor, right? Like I have a great idea. I'm gonna build something, while the A players at that point are usually not very interested.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're like somebody with a very good charisma and sense of conviction and like, so you start with what you can, right? And that's also one of the thing we're looking at when you get into a company is like, your cousin who's doing your accounting, he's really, really good. He's really, really nice. He's still not a CFO though, right? So that's when you start needing A players. And the good thing about A players is they attract A players,
Mm.
and they love working together. So
So, all right. So let's go back to what's important or urgent. Let's talk about, we started the company up. We're getting to our first 1 million to 3 million. What is important at that point?
sales,
And only sales, correct?
nothing else matters.
I'm now at 3, 4, 5 million. What is important?
Sales.
I get my company up to 7 to 10 million. Now what's important?
Now you need C-level people. Now you need C-level people, and you cannot afford C-level people. That's the first growing pain for me, right?
Ah,
When you're a company, you go through lots of growing pains. So the first one is this one, then you have the systems, then you have the people. But this first one is, okay, now I am 8 million revenue. I think 8 million is a pretty nice cut. I like this number. Um, how do I count my 8 millions? Usually, the answer, not very well.
mm-hmm.
So I need a CFO. Problem, I'm 8 million, I'm making 2 million EBITDA. I hire a CFO, and that's a quarter of my EBITDA gone for a not great CFO.
Right.
And same with IT, same with sales, same with marketing, same with HR, etc. You reach that growing pain between 8 and 20, let's say. When you're at 20, then you have like a bit more EBITDA, and you can start like hiring good people. But to bridge this gap, which is, by the way, one of the things we put in place in my company, what I'm doing now is we bridge that gap for clients, because the good thing is you need good C-level people, but you don't need them full time.
Okay. So we could have an outsourced or a
Yeah,
part-time person.
yeah, fractional, however you call it.
So I'm thinking like a business owner, because I am a business owner, been there, done this, built companies to that size. Um, and I'm growing, I'm growing and growing. And it's always that chicken and egg, right? It's like, if I just had more money, I could do this. Well, how do I get more money? Well, I can internally fund it through more sales, or I can externally fund it through some type of source. When do I start thinking about that? Because I remember reading, and I agree with this, companies wait usually too long in order to think about this, or think about getting external money, or think about how they're going to get the money down the line, other than just sort of focusing on internal sales.
So I apologize, Doug. I have a contrarian opinion on that,
Oh, I
like
love contrarian.
on many topics. So your question is, at what time do you get external money in the form of an investor or VC, right?
Yes,
My answer is never.
really.
Yeah.
So
If
all,
you can, if
yep.
you can. I'm not talking about a company researching a new molecule for curing cancer. That's very capital intensive. But lots of companies build through the grind. You're in no rush. You don't have a VC breathing down your neck telling you like you have 26 months to get to double your revenue and stuff. You're in no rush. You grow at your own pace, and you keep your capital. It's so valuable. Like, you're gonna sell your company for 100 million. Like, if you give 20% now, which was usually what a VC will take, you just gave 20 million of value, of future value. So
Right.
don't, if you can.
So then let's talk about the value of building, because a lot of people think about, I get money, I can grow faster. If I'm going through the grind, as you said, which is the majority of what I've done in business,
Me too.
it because you don't have certain amount of money here or certain amount of money there, a lot of thought can be around, well, we're not going to be able to, I want to get an acquisition model going. I want to do this. I don't have the funds to do this. So people get into and I've done this. So this is from personal experience. I've done this where it's like, well, we're not going to be able to do this. It was scarcity model, right? Versus, well, maybe they'll sell out at no money down and we could acquire the company, things like that. So my question is, how does one know? Because what I just heard you say is buy, hold for the long haul, no matter what that is, keep the equity, exit at the end. It's bigger payout for you at the end. And then, if you look at the Silicon Valley thought or those type of people, they're like, build fast, grow, exit. So how does one kind of determine what they are, the model they want to play?
Build fast and break a lot. I love this model. Um, it's only though for a very specific kind of companies.
Yep.
To be honest, that is not my specialty. That's my brother's. My brother owns a VC. I don't understand the startup model. I understand it conceptually, but I'm amazed by the amount of money that people get on ideas. And I'm amazed by the fantastic company who contact me every week for me to help them for financing because they have great company, great ideas, and nobody want to finance them. So I don't really understand this model. Um, I think it really depends on. So yeah, cash for growth. Um, I'm an old-fashioned guy, right? For
Yeah.
me, a company it's a balance sheet. There is assets, there is liability. My a more precise response is get the money when you get an asset with that money.
Okay.
I give you an example.
But that's contrarian to your contrarian.
No, it's not because I give you an example. I want money for growth, so I'm gonna get a VC to put 1 million in my company, and with this million, I'm gonna buy Google Ads. Where is the asset? When
And
you're done spending the million, the Google Ads are gone, and you're gonna grow, grow, grow like that. And when the million is gone, you go down like that. That's not financing. That's not financing growth. That's financing sales. It's very different.
got it.
I want the money to move to version 5 of the software that will open me a new country for me. That's a different that you have an asset, right? So
Hmm.
it's like it's I said if you can avoid financing, avoid financing. If you can and if you have to finance assets and not sales. And last point on that question, because you mentioned M&A, M&A is totally different. M&A is fantastic. M&A should happen very, very soon. And M&A should be used with your war chest. So yeah,
So M&A should be used as a growth strategy
yes,
in all businesses.
yes. And as much as I hate financing, I love debt.
Okay.
So you have 500,000 in your war chest. If you work with me, you'll always have at least 9 months of burn rate in your war chest anyway. If you have 500,000 in your war chest, you buy a 2 million company. That I'm perfectly okay with it. Leverage, I'm perfectly okay with it. Debt, I'm fine. If you can raise debt, raise as much debt as you can. Money is free or almost free. In the US, it's almost free. In Europe, it's free. So in Switzerland, it's literally free. You pay 0.5%. So borrow as much as you can. I have no problem with that.
Hmm. Right from the beginning. So somebody, let's say they grew their company to $1 million. Should they be looking at M&A at that point, or should they be
Yes,
waiting?
yes. As my answer to when is the good time to start M&A is always earlier.
Hmm. It's a fantastic concept because it's fascinating to me because a lot of people, they're like, well, wait till your company's a little more stable before you go into the M&A process. So what you're saying is use M&A as a growth tool, just as we would use putting $1 million into Google, so to speak, to try to get sales to grow. It's almost a parallel thought process, but different.
It's completely different because first of all, in one case, you use your own money or you use equity. In the other case, you use the bank money, right? M&A is mainly bank money.
Right.
And in the second case, you have an asset. You have a company, you have people, you have a product, you have whatever, you have IP, you bought an asset. It's completely different than by sales.
When one has more assets in a business, does that make that uh, more valuable to someone or something? And I know the answer to this, but I'm asking it for acquisition down the line. So if we build through assets and we have all these assets, does that give us a higher multiple down the line for the exit?
Yeah, marginally, but yes.
Okay. So
And sorry, also you mentioned something. People wait for the company to be more stable. When is the last time you met a company that was stable?
yeah, that's very true.
Company are a lesson in chaos. Like, yeah, Coca-Cola is a stable company. But do you think Apple is a stable company? Do you think Amazon is? You think like there's no such thing as a stable company.
No, I mean, if we look at Tesla as an example right now, that would
But
be,
a stable company?
yeah,
Yeah.
up and down, right up and down.
Yeah.
So so let's talk specifically PE, private equity. People fear it. I find in the business world, they look at it and they go, "Oh, these PE people are going to come in, they're going to crush my business, they're going to close it down, they're going to throw me out of here," all these things. How should people be looking at private equity? Is it like that, or is it something different?
Okay. First of all, PE suck at communicating.
Okay.
And PE is the exact opposite of everything you describe. PE is an extremely simple business model. And they make everything to make it sound complicated. They use jargon and they'll say they need a mezzanine loan and they throw at you ratios and to make it sound complicated.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, P is one thing, it's a leverage business. It's as simple as that. Give you an example. And then that's a preliminary to answering your question. I will answer your question, but it's good that people understand. People don't understand what is a private equity. Private equity model is super, super, super simple. Imagine you have a company, just to make it simple, that make 10 billion in revenues, 2 million EBITDA, right? Your
Yep.
company is worth 20 million, to make it simple. Private equity come, buys your company for 20 million, they put 5 million cash, 15 million debt, right? The simplest model. Now you wait 6, 7 years and literally nothing happened. You don't grow a penny in your company. Your company in 5 years is making 10 million revenue, 2 million EBITDA, which is a complete failure from a P point of view, obviously,
Hmm.
because they want to grow. But like imagine the almost worst case scenario. Now for 7 years, they give the bank your 2 million EBITDA, right?
Hmm.
So they solve the debt. There's no more debt in the company, right?
Right.
So they say, fuck it, this company is going nowhere. We have been there in 7 years. Let's sell it back exactly the same price we sold it, right? We bought it. We bought it 20, we sell it 20. How did they do?
How did they do?
Yeah,
You
how
mean,
did they do? That in this scenario, how is the PE after the 7 years?
well, they're still up.
They put 5 million cash, they get 20 million out. They're 4 times up.
Well, I mean, pure numbers, they've lost money, right? In that regard. But
Where did they lose the money? They
well,
put
that
5 million and they get 20
20
million.
back, 20 million back. Yeah. So that's why I said they were up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
They made 4x without growing the company a penny.
Hmm.
So basically, the model of a private equity, the worst case scenario is they buy a company in year one, they sell it in year seven, they make 4 times plus the growth. Now, if they bought this company from 10 million to 20 million, then suddenly they're 8x, 12x, etc. So that's how simple PE business model is. It's a leverage game.
So why
So
do people fear it then?
Because, well, for the same reason, if you look at the news, you think all buildings are exploding, right? Because you don't report buildings that don't explode.
Right.
Right? So that's one reason. Second, they want you to be scared a little bit because they want to feel important, and because when they contact you, that's why they love contacting you. You're not savvy of what they're doing. You're not negotiating well with you. You don't know the valuation of your company. Absolutely key point. You don't know the valuation of your company. They do. And that's like how they make a lot of money. They are not in the business of running companies. They're in the business of helping company to grow. So the question, will they replace me? Usually not, but it happens. I'd say 25, 30% of the time, the management's being replaced, which is not necessarily a bad thing. In my case, I asked to be replaced because I had enough and for many different reasons. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But there's one thing people don't understand about PE. So that's one. They don't understand how PE work. The other thing they don't understand is they want to have their cake and eat it, right? You
Hmm.
step into a private equity and you say, "Ooh, I'm worried what they're going to do with my company." No, no. The question is what they'll do with their company. It's not your company anymore. You sold it. And that's like very, very, very important mental state. From the day you sold, you got your check, you have a boss. That's why private equity, you do your due diligence on private equity is so important.
It's a really just fine, distinctive point, actually. So when you work with a private equity company as the owner, we must realize that we're selling the company to the private equity company, so it's no longer our company.
Yes, it's not a VC. They're not gonna bring you 100 million for 20 million for 20% of your company. They're gonna buy 75 to 80% of your company for a very big check, and it's their company now. Now you are a minority shareholder.
Right.
And you work for them. You're not the boss anymore. They're the boss.
Makes lots of sense. I think that's one of the places, Alexis, that people get confused because they think I'm getting money to grow my company. And essentially, what we're doing is the company's buying our company and they're going to direct the growth of that company. And now we are an employee of the company, essentially.
Yes. Yes, that's PE, that's not VC. I'm getting money to grow my company, that's VC, right?
Yep.
Like I will sell 20% of equity in exchange of a certain sum of money, but this money goes in the company. It doesn't go to your pocket as a founder. When you sell to a PE, you get the money, the founder get the money, right?
Right. So it's essentially it's a I'm cashing out one way or another, whether it's a PE firm or a different company bought me or some investor bought me or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm no
you're cashing
longer.
out.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's a big distinction between. I think that's one of the reasons people fear PE because they're not looking at it that way.
There's one reason, there's another reason is like, let's say there is 20% of bad PE. How do you know you're not selling to a bad PE? You have to do a proper due diligence.
Right.
And that I'm amazed, like nobody, and to be honest, I didn't, right? All I'm saying now, I'm being very, very, it's hindsight, right? All this mistake, I'm warning my clients again. I made them all. I didn't miss one mistake. I just got super lucky that I sold to a good PE, but it was pure luck.
Okay.
Uh, do your due diligence on the PE and tell them like they're going to do 6 months due diligence on your company. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. It's going to be long and hard. To my client, I always refer the due diligence that the PE does as the 6 months colonoscopy because that's how it's going to feel. You have to get ready
Okay.
physically, mentally. But yeah, you tell the PE, thank you for your offer. I appreciate it. I'm going to respond to it in 2 weeks when I'm done doing my due diligence.
I'm going to come back to this point. I have a question that just popped into my head. Should people look at companies when they build them that they're going to hold them forever and it may never sell? Or should they look at it as And build it accordingly. Like you said, hey, work on the business, can step out for weeks and everything will be fine. Or should they look at it as, because so many people do and the businesses don't sell, they look at it as I'm building this business to sell this business.
Okay, so that's one of the top three questions I ask when I interview a new client. I
Mhm.
very rarely take new clients, and that's one of the reason. First question is, who are you as a company and what do you want as a founder? Who are you as a company is, am I a lifestyle business? Am I a growth business? It's completely different. You grow your lifestyle business, it's fantastic. You get 1 million per year in dividends and salary, and your car is in the company, and your vacations are paid for the company, and your kids work for the company, etc., etc. It's a lifestyle business, it's fantastic, but you're not going to sell that for 100 million, and it's not what I do. So if our client come and say that's my company and that's where I want to be, then I'm not helping, not because it's not interesting, it's because I can't. The skill required for this company is operational excellence, is tax efficiency, all the stuff I know nothing about.
Mhm.
So who are you as a company? And if you want to grow your business to sell, then the second question I ask is what's your number? That's a super important question. How much money do you need to never have to work an extra day of your life?
It's a very important question. So let's say that we look at that number and then we've got to calculate what we're going to be able to get in recurring revenue out of that or recurring uh, income out of that number, correct? Whether we invested in something else or we invested in whatever. We've got to get, if we have 10 million in the bank and all we can get is 4% interest.
Exactly that. And it's funny because everybody comes with a different number
Yeah.
because they think, oh, it's very dependent on my lifestyle. It's actually not very dependent. There is one number that is kind of universal, and it's 40 million, right?
Yeah.
If you are in a geography that has no capital gains tax, which I make sure you are when you sell the company, you get 40 million cash. With 40 million cash, you get 5% per year. That's 2 million per year. The tax man takes half of that, and you have 1 million per year, which
Yeah.
is a good, nice lifestyle. So then the point to like and I try to push to 100 because I think 100 is a really really nice number. So and it's also a bit of my brand, right? The 100 million exit. Then my question is, we are at 20 million valuation. We go to 100 million valuation. Can I achieve that in 4 years or less? I don't do more than 4 year plans. I don't believe in more than 4 year plans. I think life has a sense of humor, and like the 10 year plans, I don't have the patience. So that's pretty simple. Where am I? Where am I? Where do I want to go? Is there a path to go there?
Interesting. What are the other questions you ask people?
I ask a lot of personal questions. It's important for me. Age is important, marital situation, kids, all that is important for me. I focus on the founder, right? I don't really care about the company. I focus on the founder. Then I ask them where the company is, where are they going, and then there is more detailed question like the level of autonomy. I don't work by committee. I need to talk to the person who can make the decision.
Mhm.
So I'm fine if like there is two, three people making a decision, but usually I work better with founders who can actually make the decisions.
Decisions. Interesting. So founders,
Sorry, sorry. One last question I ask because it's important is how long do you still want to work? The reason I ask that is, Doug, if we discuss selling your company, I need to know like, okay, in 4 years you sell for 100 million. Would you like to stay in the company for a few years, or would you like to take your check and leave? The reason I ask, both are possible, but you don't target exactly the same buyers. If you want your check and leave, then it's better to deal with a strategic sale to sell to a competitor or to another company. And if you want to stay a little bit, P is better.
That makes total sense. That makes absolute sense. Um, last point I'd like to get into, Alexis, in the time we have is, companies tend to wait too long. This is what I read, that companies tend to wait too long to actually start preparing for private equity or preparing for an exit. And then the second part of that, I guess, I think you called it dressing the bride, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I went into a fight with my publisher on that. He said you cannot say that. It's sexist. That's why in the book now it's dressing the bride or the groom. That's how politically correct I can. Sorry.
No, wait a minute. I used to be a professional DJ, right? So I've done literally well over 1,000 weddings.
Yeah.
And I'm not being sexist whatsoever. Um, the that day, the wedding day, is designed for the bride,
Yes.
and everything revolves around her.
Yeah.
The man, for the most part, is thinking, I'm putting this tuxedo on, I'm showing up, I'm doing my part.
Yeah. And
Every
I'm
other
trying to
thing,
survive.
every other thing, makeup,
Yeah.
hair, dress,
I know I have two of these. I've had two of these. I know.
I mean, I've done over 1,000 of these, folks. So don't send any like, oh, you're a sexist hate mail. It's not that. It's some of these gals women have been thinking about this since they were 3, 4, 5 years old, and it's the princess
Yeah.
bride type thing, right? So
Yeah.
so when we look at a business like this, we're talking about how do we make that individual shine on her day in the most elegant way perceived by humankind.
Exactly. And to achieve that, the key is you need to speak private equity. You need to, when I finally, after months of preparation with my client, go to the private equity, I know exactly how to extract the most value of this company because I know what they like. There is 20 different angles to that, but I give you a very simple example, right? Very, very simple. Everybody is familiar with the concept of EBITDA.
Mhm.
And everybody is familiar with the concept that the private equity is buying a multiple of the EBITDA. Well, actually, they're not.
Mhm.
They make you believe that they're buying a multiple of something they call the nominal EBITDA. And it's a very big difference. I give you an example. You have a guy that you pay 100,000 per month and you fire him in November. In your EBITDA, you have 80 million of costs. In the nominal EBITDA, you have zero of cost because it's cost that I'm not incurring in the future. There is dozens of lines like that. When I go see the private equity, because I know they're going to do that, but they're not going to tell you because the nominal EBITDA is always higher than almost always higher than the EBITDA. So I say, okay, guys, this is the company I'm selling to you. It has 10 million EBITDA, it has 20 million nominal EBITDA. This is why. That's
Mhm.
one example of dressing the bride. And it's basically speaking private equity, and like they will do lots of stuff. They will do lots of market analysis. They will do lots of you do that for them. You come and you say, okay, this is my market, this is my competitor, this is don't lie. They will find out. And the easiest it is for them, the better the multiple. That's simple. And
Hmm.
also, when you show you speak private equity, you have way more credibility. They're like, oh, fuck, then these guys know what he's talking about. So it's going to be a fairer negotiation, let's say.
So it's a play on methodology and a play on words. It's kind of like how when people buy gold, they buy it on a different standard than they sell it on, right? So
Yeah.
they buy it on, like, let's say a grain, and they sell it on a gram or something like that.
Yeah, you don't lie, but it's a little more than that. I give you an example from my cell, right? I had the company in Geneva, have a big development center in Singapore. In between Geneva and Singapore, we had an internet lease line that was costing probably 200,000 per year.
Okay.
And for years, I've been trying to reduce that cost because it's ridiculously expensive. And my developers explained to me why it was not possible. They were right. It was absolutely not possible. I gave up. After the sale happened, the guy from private equity came and said, we shutting down the line. And I explained to him while it was not possible. I said, yeah, I understand. I agree. We're shutting it down next month. So I pick up my phone, call my CTO, say, they're shutting down the line next month. They shut down the line next month, nothing happened. So that's
Hmm.
200,000 of EBITDA. That's 2 million that in now in the private equity pocket instead of mine.
Yeah.
It's a clear loss of 2 million for me. It's a very simple example. So dressing the bride is a little more than just rhetorics. There is actions you do. One of the things the private equity are looking for and they are worried about, there is a trend. There is two bad trends, one on the side of the founders and one on the side of the private equity, their fund. The private equity are worried that companies who throw the sailors to the sea. So basically, my company is doing 2 million EBITDA. I'm going to fire 20 people. I'm going to bring my EBITDA to 3 million. Nothing will happen because the boat is still sailing on his trend. Nothing will happen and I sell exactly at that point. That's one of the things that's dishonest and that private equity will notice. And another bad behavior is on the private equity. I love the name. Unfortunately, it's a client of mine who found this name, not me. He said what they do is fish and chip. They fish you with a high valuation and then they chip at it during the due diligence. That's extremely unethical, in my opinion,
Hmm.
and extremely efficient because we're human beings, right? During the 6 months colonoscopy, you have 100 million in your head. You started spending this money in your head, or if you me in the real life. And after the 6 months, say, yeah, we've been through the due diligence. It's not 100, it's going to be 85. And it's very rare that you say no. So you have to prevent that from happening.
So it's actually a psychological positioning for them.
Yes.
It's interesting.
And
It's
due diligence.
in due diligence on it. So we want to be as attractive as possible. We want to be as efficient and effective as possible and kind of close those loops so they don't have the opportunity to do that.
Yes.
Okay, that makes total sense. Huh. The I could talk with you all day about this. How do people find more about you, your company, and your book?
Well, I have one thing that works for me, not many, but I have one thing that works for me is I have a complicated name. So if you type Sikorsky on LinkedIn, you won't find 600 profiles. Same, my book is on Amazon, is on Audible. It's pretty easy to find.
So just type in Alexis Sikorsky and
Yeah,
up
and
you'll
you'll
pop.
find me.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't find me, it's on you.
Yeah, the fun part is if you type in Doug Brown, you'll get a lot of them, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I'm lucky on this one.
people the one that pops up now if you type in Doug C. Brown, I'll be everywhere. But if you type in
Yeah,
Doug Brown, I'll be a professional hockey player first, and
yeah.
that's what happens.
Which
So
is good for it's better for girls than being a podcast host, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Alexis, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate this. I know there are some people now pulled over to the side of the road, either smiling or crying. I'm not sure which one, but uh, what is the type of company that you want to reach out to you if indeed they are looking?
Okay, the my ideal um, company that I want to help. First of all, I like where companies are founder led. That's really easy for me to work with. I like where they around like at least 5, 6, 7, 8 million revenue.
Hmm.
And I love when they achieve that through a grind, like the companies that took 6, 7 years to get there when the guy is starting to get tired and overwhelmed. And that's where they need most, like where I can help the most. I like when companies are mission driven. I like when people love what they do. That's one of the things I assess. Like, do you even like what you're doing? Because we're gonna do it. We're gonna multiply it by 5. So you're gonna do way more of what you're doing. You actually enjoy it. And I like business that have opportunities, but they don't really know how to tackle them. Like if you're a restaurant in a main street and you do 8 million, basically you're full every day. There's not that many opportunities. You know what I mean? Like th that's it pretty much.
Okay, awesome. Well, Alexis, thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate you bringing your triple plus A game on this one. And I love the fact that you were contrarian and during our interview here. I love when people do that. As I say to everybody, I'm always right, but I'm never always right. So you know, please please make sure that we have that here. So thank you for doing that.
So I'll
Uh,
leave you with a little piece of wisdom. You know how you recognize a great idea?
yes.
It's everybody think it's a shitty idea. But the problem is that's also the case for shitty ideas.
What a paradox. Thanks again for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. What did you learn? Well, one of the things that's great here is who are you and, what kind of company do you want to build? In other words, who are you personally, right? What kind of company you want to build? Do you want to exit? If you do want to exit, do you want to stay with that company? Do you want to not stay with that company? And to understand the difference, whether you sell to a VC or you sell to a private and competitor, if you will, because if you want to exit that company, you may need to do that. If you go with PE, they may want you to stay on for a while, or they may not want you to stay on for a while. How do you want your life to be after the business? We all know we work really, really hard in most of the cases to build our companies. And sometimes we get our emotions so deep into it that we don't step back and actually look at what we're looking for, i.e. what I call the truthful goal. So that would be my challenge to all of you. And I'd listen back to this. There's a lot of great nuggets in this interview. If you're interested in this particular subject, if you found this great, please give it a 5-star review. I would appreciate that. And if you could do that on Apple or Spotify, that would be awesome. Again, join our newsletter if you'd like, ceosalesstrategies.com/newsletter. And if you want any help in your business, reach out to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. All right, until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Go out and sell something, sell a lot of it, play win-win-win. Everyone wins. You win, they win, someone else wins. Don't discount. You don't have to discount. Provide value, right? Value is in the perceived person's mind of what they value, not necessarily what we value. Could be the same, but usually they give more credence to what they value than what we value. All right, until next time, go out and sell something and to your success.